Want to sell more and fail less? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. We want to sell more, and you've just started out in sales, or you've been doing so for a long time, but you don't have a high success rate. I want to preface this one thing first, though. There is no person that can sell to anybody at any time, no matter what, because there are going to be different situations, things are going to happen, people aren't going to buy every single time. Anybody that says that they can is full of, well, you know that one emoji that shows up? That's what they are full of, okay? So, how do we sell more? That's what we want to talk about. Well, there's 5 buying decisions that we must make, and in their right order, if we're going to be successful with our customers. Now, the first one is simple, and most people screw it up. The first one that they think is the product. The first buying decision people think of is the product or service. That's wrong. The first buying decision is you. The customer doesn't trust you right off the bat unless somebody's spoken for you and helped you get the meeting. But 9 times out of 10, the customer wants to know, like, and trust us if we're going to go anywhere with anybody. And when I first got into sales, I got to tell you, I had an uphill battle with building in that know, like, and trust with customers because they knew in the South that my accent was not from the South. And I had to build that know, like, and trust. I had to consistently show up for those people. I had to go hunt and help them and serve them and whatnot. But if we're going to show up consistently, they're gonna start buying from us. So that's why sales, people say, is a numbers game, because you gotta constantly be showing up multiple times. You gotta build that rapport. You gotta build that connection with people. And that starts by serving them. So the first buying decision is you, if you want to be successful with an organization or a customer. All right, here's another buying decision that people have. It is the organization. And this has become extremely true for millennials. Millennials don't care about a product or service. They care about what the organization will do more than the product or service, because they understand there's tons of products and services out there that they can buy. But what is it that the organization stands for? If they can unite on that purpose, then they'll look at buying products and service. And here's the key. If they align on that customer, especially those millennials, will buy even more products and services from that same organization. It is crucial that we make sure that we take this organization here and the customer, and we make sure that they're in alignment so they can move forward together. Because if we don't, they're not going to buy from us. They may buy one time a low value thing, and that's about it. But if they are ignited and see those values and they align with them, they're going to buy more. So we need to make sure that we're hitting with our customers what their values are and making sure that the company is shown in that light. And that means we need to do a lot of research on our organizations that we work for to make sure that there's not many skeletons, and how to have those conversations. And that's why we set up in the sales process the different kind of questions to make sure that we're setting that up so that the customer will buy from us. Then we're going to talk about price. Price is a buying decision. That's right. The customer has to know that this thing that we're selling is more valuable and will help them be a success more than the price. Because if you're going to buy something, then they're not going to hit that value, or they're not going to see that value, they're not buying from us. They're going to go find something that is less cost and still does the same job. So we need to make sure that we're showing all of the value and it offsets that price. Because when we are not offsetting that price, they don't see the value, they're not buying from us. And I've had tons of customers that they just did not see the value that I was offering. Sometimes it was from me speaking. Sometimes it's been the products and services that I've sold that they didn't see the value and I got turned down. And that's, you spend all this time trying to sell people, and the bigger the dollar value on the product or service that you're offering, the harder it is and the longer the sales process that we need to walk through with that customer. We need to make sure that we're offsetting that price, because if they don't see that price and that value offsetting, they're not buying from us. Now we talk about the product, right? Everybody knows product, and all these salespeople go, I got this one, that the product is the answer. And they spew off all these technical details. They have these pamphlets they hand out to customers, and the customer goes, great. Well, the problem is, and I learned this really early in my sales career, was how do you make them a hero of their story? How do you set up the questions? How do you tie them back to the features and benefits? That's what we need to do, is make sure that the product actually meets the customer's needs to make them a hero of their story. And I learned this when I first got into sales. I was actually at this convention, and I'm jumping in, I'm helping people. This was fun, getting to talk to people. Even for an engineering introvert like myself, I actually was able to do this. I was talking to this customer, and I'm spewing out all these features and benefits. I'm thinking, I got this locked down. I've memorized the pamphlet. And what the customer said to me that struck a chord was, these are all great. How does it help me? That struck a chord, and it resonates with me every time I engage with the customer. How does it help me? That's my main focus on how does this product and service. Yeah, we can spew out all these details, but if we're not asking the questions that align the product and service the right way, they're not buying from us. So, gotta make sure that we are making sure that the product and service is going to help them. Because your product and service doesn't help everybody, I guarantee it, it does not help anybody. Not even pure oxygen will help everybody. Here's the last buying decision that we're going to talk about today that people have to decide on. The customer needs to make a decision on buying. That's right. They need to make the decision to buy. Yeah, we've gone through all these other things, but the last decision they need to make is whether they should buy or not. Should they buy now or should they wait? I mean, how many people have gone into Costco and they see the product or service that they want to get, but they wait until they see that cool little star up in the corner of the price thing and they say, now it's time to buy. I do it all the time. I am guilty of that. I wait to the time to get the best deal. I've done that so why wouldn't the customer do that? We need to make sure that we're answering the time to buy. And that goes back to the beginning where we're talking about all these questions and we walk through that in the sales process. We need to make sure that we understand their timetable to buy. Because I've actually sold things and they said, that's great, we're actually going to buy in the next quarter. And I just sat there and go, God, I missed the mark. We need to know when they plan on buying. And we need to help them after they've gone through all the other decisions on the time to buy, the time to act. And there's all these little sales tips and tricks that people do with scarcity and all this other stuff. But once people understand that fear thing is gone, that scarcity, guarantee they're not going to trust you, and now you're on an uphill battle. So make sure you're focused on serving those people, walking them through all 5 of those buying decisions, and making sure you get them in the right order. And just so you know, I didn't put them all in the right order on this talk, so we need to make sure that we're hitting all those in the right order if we're going to be a success. So if you have more questions about that, feel free to reach out. Contact information is below. If this video was helpful, hit like, share, subscribe, send it to somebody you think it might benefit, because that's why I do these videos, to help you. We'll see you next time.